You cannot talk about house music without mentioning the godfather of Chicago house, Marshall Jefferson. From New York to Chicago, Los Angeles to Berlin, you still can't walk into a club without hearing classics like Open Our Eyes, 7 Ways to Jack, and of course, Move Your Body. Marshall's innovative and contagious style of music deeply resonated with the queer community, specifically with queer and trans people of color. His music has been featured in many influential films, including the seminal documentary Paris is Burning and FX's series Pose. His influence on queer culture is undeniable. This is legendary. Hello, I am Javier Munoz and I'm here with Marshall Jefferson. I can't think of a time that I've ever been at a club in New York City and your music hasn't come on.
Oh.
Like truly, like staples of growing up in New York City club life. There was something that was like liberating in being around each other and having fun with each other, and it was a safe environment. But it couldn't just be any music. Every genre of music will evoke an emotional reaction. How did you gravitate to house music compared to anything else?
Followed somebody for work to this club called the Music Box.
Oh, in Chicago?
In Chicago. Ron Hardy spinning. Loudest sound system I'd ever heard. It was a religious experience.
And it was house music?
Yeah, I felt the music. I felt it. You know, I'm not saying I felt it in my soul. I felt it in my body. It was so loud, the bass kicked in. You would stand still and right here, and a few minutes later, you would be right there. You know, that's how hard the bass was hitting, right? Yeah. And I never heard anything like that in my life. It was just...
That's wild. Okay. Did you ever come to New York to like experience the nightlife here, or were you always Chicago-based?
Man, there was a period I did like over 300 shows in the New York area.
Where'd you play?
Let me see. Roseland used to have big parties. Silver Shadow, Red Parrot, Paradise Garage.
Paradise Garage, always.
Hundreds of New York clubs
that are
back
gone
in the 80s.
Yeah.
They all left at the same time.
I was 15. I started the nightlife here in New York. I mean, this sort of an interesting thing. I don't know if you had this in Chicago, but a way of survival here was through music, and it was through house music, and it was through the balls and the houses that we had here. And one of the dearest friends I had, or I should say like mentors, was Willie Ninja. And the mother of the House of Ninja.
Oh, okay.
I mean, because it's pivotal when I think about that generation of friends that I had who are no longer here. And I think, you know, the wonderful example that Paris is Burning, the film, shows us of that history that your music is in. That is, it's vital.
I remember licensing it to the Paris is Burning movie people.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was so happy to get a song in a film, you know, the movie came out like years later. I said, oh, that was a good thing, you know. That was, you know, that was a good thing.
I'm Willie Ninja, the mother of the House of Ninja.
I want to be a big star.
You know what I mean?
Separate from the influence on house music and on LGBTQ sort of culture coming up in New York and Chicago, when did that start for you? Like when were you drawn to that?
LGBT culture influenced house. Chicago in the early 70s, they eradicated gang leadership. They either killed or jailed them. After that happened, you had a different gang on every block. Consequently, there's a situation that still exists to this day where you go on the next block, you get shot.
Wow.
Right. On the other hand, what happened in New York was the gangs united and things were a lot more peaceful, you know, and they even say, hey, you're gonna break dance instead of fight.
Yeah, exactly.
And that went down for a while, you know. So Chicago was scared to party. Wow. The only safe places to party were in the gay clubs. People wanted to be gay, right?
Got you, right.
Even the straight kids that weren't gay were pretending to be gay.
Right.
So the gangsters would leave them alone. I never seen that kind of diversity on the dance floor.
That's awesome.
You know.
So did that like create a safe environment outside of the club for LGBTQ community?
Yeah, I can't remember anyone really being in the closet in Chicago. You know,
That's amazing.
I mean, nobody, you know, like came out. I'm gay. You know, like years like they were
out.
Yep. You know, out immediately. You know, it was a safe party. It's just basically kids wanted to party.
So house music became the escape.
House music was the escape.